Hello, my pervies, and thank you for coming to our next episode of Cocktail and Cleavage. My name is Miss Locs.
And I'm Joy Perez.
And we are coming to you guys different this time because both of our households have the fucking cooties. And so we had to record from different spaces. So unfortunately, we don't have any amazing drinks.
Oh,
I just
speak for
have
yourself.
I got wine too, but normally
Okay.
we try to be fancy out here. So I don't have any fanciness, and we don't have our microphones. I do have my lights. um, let's talk about the last 2 weeks, like we always do, because it has been 2 weeks since we did it. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I've been lifing. I don't have anything super fantastic to talk about. We have officially started promoting our dungeon party, our very first dungeon party. So that's a positive. Um, it is going to be the end of next month, which I'm super excited about. We have
No,
been
this
talking
month.
about this, huh?
It's this month. We already in September.
See what I'm talking about? This is what happens when I. Hey, we'll talk about it later. Like it's just been a whole thing, and I've lost track of time. So this month, the end of this month, not the end of next month. Thank you for that correction. Um, but we're super excited about it. We found like a totally viable space, which is super excited. It's not busting heads, and so because it's not busting heads, we're able to transfer down those benefits. There is going to be a sex positive space. So that's upstairs with the stripper poles. We got a couple of massage tables. We got crosses. We got benches. We got ambiance and just really good vibes and really good energy. And I'm super excited to get all of this up and going and for us to see what this looks like because we really want to do this monthly. There's not a lot of places to have a good time here in Killeen safely, um, without concerns with who's going to be there, how's it going to be held, is it going to be clean, is it going to be nice, is it going to be inviting. um, I know for me, I wanted to make sure that it was a space that for those of us that happen to be demisexual and is not wanting to necessarily go out and do all of the things, that we would still feel invited and safe and secure and being able to like vibe. Because if I'm allowed into a space and I'm able to vibe, then maybe the next time I may be prone to, you know, tie somebody up because I'm not getting tied up. Let's put that out there. Okay, nobody's beating my ass. I do the ass beating around here. So I am super excited about this. So what about you, Joy? What's been going on?
Oh shit. A whole lot of nothing. We got the first week we had a kid come down with COVID. This past week we have two other kids sick. No COVID thankfully, but they've still been sick, so we've just been in the house with them. Um I think the only exciting thing is Friday night, Rebel and I took my niece out. Um, so my niece is 24 now, but when she was younger, she lived with us for a while, and she's come back to Texas, and she wants to get to know me as an adult, which is super scary. You know,
Yeah.
uh, she's from Sir's side of the family, and we've kind of gone no contact with his side and my side, so it was interesting. I was a little apprehensive. Exactly what I thought would happen happened. All the way to Austin, it was a lot of trauma dumping and her wanting to like rehash her childhood. And when you have a child who's been through like neglect, abuse, abandonment, parental issues, that causes a lot of internal struggle. And for her, she felt like there was a lot of gaps or stuff that's been told to her wasn't lining up with her own memories. So she felt like she was being gaslighted or she was going crazy because what people were telling her and the things that she remembers weren't lining up. So all the way to Austin, I kind of just let her talk. I listened to her, listened to all of the things that people have been telling her, and I just kind of kept quiet because when it comes to, Sir's family, I just kind of stay out of it.
Mm-hmm.
We get to Austin. We took her to Highland Lounge. It's a gay bar, and we had a fantastic time. It was so much fun. And then on the way back, she starts bringing up family stuff all over again. So you now you have drunk me, okay? Drunk
Two
me,
different yous. Got it. Got it.
not the same person. So I was like, okay, kid, what exactly do you want to know? Now's your chance. What exactly do you want to know? So she was asking questions, and I was very blunt, very honest with her about like what it was like for me on like my perspective of when I came into the family, taking her in, taking care of her brother, my experiences with her side of the family. And she was like, "See, and this is what I remember. These are all the things, and this is how I remembered it happening, not the way her mom had told her or how her grandma had told her." And she's like, "Thank you, because it just kind of like reaffirms that I'm not fucking crazy." So she says that she keeps my business to herself and she doesn't share it. So hopefully it stays that way. Um, on all sides of the family, B's side, my side, Sir's side, we've always been the black sheep. Um, we're all come from very conservative families, very toxic families, and we cut them all off for a reason. And I just kind of hope the drama stays over there and doesn't infiltrate over here.
Understandable.
Um, at the risk of who might hear these things. I guess the only other thing was just dealing with like a lot of drama in my other groups. Feeling like, how do I even explain that? Like you've been helping me deal with all of these things, but having white tears weaponized against me twice by two different women, two different incidences, and having to like be the bigger person because I am a leader. I am the president of one of the groups. And the other group, it involves all of our kids and having to like keep the peace so that the kids still have this avenue, at least for like the rest of this school semester. That has been like really draining. And it's just been a tough couple of weeks.
I can agree. I've seen all of the things that you've been going through. Um, I know for me, a lot of times people will talk about intersectionality that they are entwined with without looking at intersectionality at its core, and seeing how all of this plays a big part in everything that we do. Um, White tears are dangerous, always has been. It brings about a certain level of protection from everyone else, regardless of the common sense that should come in play when talking to and dealing with certain situations. They seem to, get thrown out the window. And then if you're passionate, you're not listening. If you are bringing up concerns, then you are um, invalidating people's experiences while your experiences themselves are being invalidated because, once again, doesn't matter. We're supposed to be super strong. We're supposed to let stuff slide over, off our backs, and we're supposed to be the bigger person. So that definitely can be a space that is no longer safe. And I know that you were concerned about who could see this, but I want them to see it because I need for them to understand that nobody gets paid for the shit that we do. This
No.
podcast, any of our extra organizations that we do it because we love to do it. So what happens when we no longer love to do it? What happens when we're phenomenal at our shit and we grow the organization and it flourishes under our direction, and then turn around and people spit in your face. And I really feel like people really need to sit in that for a while, because no shade, no tea, the shit wouldn't be what the shit is if Joy Perez wasn't involved. And it sounds extremely cocky, but when someone is good at what they do, because that's their passion and that's their love and that's what they're feeding and breathing life into, people really have to and need to be cognitive of that situation. Because if you think that you can do this shit without, I one of those people that I'm like, hey, I am I am for it. You are a creator of things. I am a creator of things. Just because one thing ends doesn't mean that we won't create something else to keep ourselves fucking occupied. And so I'll tell you, like I've always told you, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's vanilla or kinky, we protect the property. And when those situations are no longer protecting us, we no longer feel safe. What are we doing in these spaces? So I really hope that everything can get worked out. But at the end of the day, the property, you are most important. And if that means that you have to take your energy and your passion and pour it into something that is better aligned, that's what growth looks like. And there's nothing wrong with it.
So I did come to a decision for the one group. I made commitments to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to fulfill those commitments to the kids. After the semester, because of how this whole situation played down, my kids don't even want to be a part of it. You know, my kids go hard for me. You
As they
disrespect their
should.
mom, and that's it. Like, they will not fuck with you no more. They don't care if you've been cool all these years, all this time. You disrespect their mom, and then that's it. It's like
Me.
switch flips.
But I mean, that's the way that it should be, especially when it's no fault of yours. And one thing that I can say about our kids is our kids have no problem respectfully holding us accountable.
Oh, yeah.
And so if they felt that you were overreacting, they'd have let you know. They'd have been like, hey, mom, just to let you know, you're tripping. Um, but
Adeline will tell me to relax.
she's been around. She's been around Ty too long. You need to calm down, mom. You're doing too much. But yeah, that is my, that is always what I tell you going into anything is protecting the property. And if it does not serve a purpose, what are we doing? I feel, and I've been talking to people about this often, about how people look at selfishness and they see it as a bad thing, and it really isn't.
Right.
We, especially as women, are often told to be selfless, and we always come out with the bad end of the stick, the raw end of the stick. But why are we having to be selfless? Why are we continuing in situations and pouring into people and things that no longer serve us a purpose? Anybody that sits into, like, at a young age, yes, a lot of us are selfless in what we do. But as we get older, everybody has an ulterior motive. And I feel like if people understood that, and I don't even mean monetary, I don't mean sexual. I teach, I do these podcasts, I do all of these things. It's not early. I could be in bed right now. I could be getting booty rubs, right? But I'm not. Instead, I'm here and I'm talking to all of these people and sharing my experiences. Why? Because it feeds me. Feeding the community feeds me. Sharing my experiences feed me. I get something from doing this every time I do it. Even if I struggle for the first 30 minutes of getting on the podcast, getting on the podcast. Once I get on here, I'm great. And so it's because it feeds me, right? So I gain something out of sharing all of this with the community. Everybody gains something. And as selfless as people like to pretend that they are, they're not. And we have to be mindful of that, and we have to change our viewpoints on that. Selflessness is actually selfishness, because to not get anything in return, and to pour and pour and pour and not get poured back into, what is the purpose? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Why? To say that we're going to be a good person? I feel like my way to heaven has been going a long time ago, baby. So I mean, it's been out of here a long time ago. So what am I doing, right? Like, what am I getting out of this? And I feel like more people should be selfish. Because if you are selfish, when I'm coming in and I'm negotiating anything, be it a relationship, be it a work project, be it a job, because a lot of people look at it in this instance, but they don't realize we negotiate everything that we do. So when I'm what do I get from this engagement? What am I? Okay, you're wanting me to work. What that pay looking like, what those bonus looking like, what those hours looking like. Are you allowing work life balances when it comes to DNS, MNS situations? Okay, what am I getting out of this? I'm doing A, B, C, D, and E for you. The
This
hell am
is
I
what I
getting
was
out of it?
talking about, though. When on our last book club meeting, we were talking about types of service,
Mm-hmm.
and I was literally saying that, like, you can call it whatever you want, but literally everything is transactional. You might not be getting money out of it. You might not be getting ass beatings out of it, but you're getting something out of it. If you're getting the feel goods, you're getting something in return. If you're getting the
Mm-hmm.
praisers and the good girls and the good boys and, the head
Mm-hmm.
pats, you're getting something out of it.
All of that.
Everything we do is transactional.
It is. And I feel that, the world doesn't want us to look at it that way, but it totally is. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with any of that. Because why?
Hmm.
Why? you know, why is this friendship such a valid friendship? How does it feed me? Because if it is a one-sided situation, it's at the detriment of self. And why should I put myself at a negative to help uplift someone that doesn't give a fuck about me, or uplift the situation that does not feed or help me in any way, shape, or form? And I feel like we got to get better with that. It's such a negative viewpoint. And like I said, I talk about it as a woman because we're taught at a young age that selflessness is the only way to be. And we often get ourselves in situations, relationships, jobs, all of that, and we stay in it even though it's no longer serving us a purpose, because that's what we are taught, we are programmed to do on a regular basis. You see men growing and building and going up a ladder. Why? Because they don't get, hey, you not paying me, there's somebody else that will. You not fucking me, there's somebody else that will. You not feeding me, there's somebody else that will. And we see that as selfishness and it being a bad thing, but it's not. Especially if you've negotiated what is required. Hey, I expect you to pay me every Friday. I expect $25 an hour. I expect 2 breaks and a lunch. These are my expectations, and I don't understand why people don't understand that the same way that you are within a job is the same way that you should maneuver in life in general. Right? Because what am I doing? Um, I feel like a lot of times we spend a lot of our energy having our face played in.
Hmm.
Um, and that is a trigger for me. Don't play in my fucking face. Do not piss on me and tell me it's rain. Okay?
Unless
Don't
you're
do
used
it.
to that.
Never even. I didn't consent to this, right? I didn't even say I like waterworks. Wordplay. Okay. So, you know, that to me is something that we really need to change as a whole, because selflessness really isn't as self-righteous as we are made to believe, and that's why we are constantly pouring from empty cups.
That, and I feel like, when you're a spouse, a wife, a mother, you're expected to do all of these things. These are things that were taught at such a young age. And like the one that I was having issues with, I ended up doing a virtual coffee date with her just to try to like have a conversation so as not to make like working life so awkward. And just trying to get to know each other, I asked her, "What do you do for fun? What do you do for you?" And she just kind of laughed and was like, "What does that even mean?" And it made me think like that used to be me. Before I got, more involved in the community, before I got involved with CTPC, my life revolved around taking care of the home, taking care of the kids, and waiting for the guys to get home so I could take care of them. There was nothing for me.
Mm-hmm.
We lose so much of our identity and who we are. Then like the kids are grown and they leave the house, the guys, your spouses, they get hobbies, they go out and they do things, and you're sitting there like twiddling your thumbs and you're like, who am I outside of other people? And I really found myself honestly when the guys left home, because they weren't here for me to like be
Pour
underneath
into.
of
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My kids they're not grown, but they're at the age where they're self sufficient and they don't need mom as much. So, like, finding something for me. And when Beast was talking about coming home permanently, I told him, I was like, yeah, my life is crazy. My life is busy. It's hectic. Please don't expect me to, like, cut all of that out just because you're home now. Like, I finally gotten to a point in my life. I'm 36 years old, and I'm finally at a point where my BPD does not have a stranglehold on me. Where even when I'm struggling and even when I have my days, I have something to look forward to because it's something for me. I'm told him like we had a hard time earlier this year when I was running for the school board,
Mm-hmm.
because I was a lot more hours campaigning and talking and being out and doing all of the things, and that meant less time on the phone with him. And he wanted me to choose. He was like, something's got to give. One of your groups or the school board, something's got to give. And I was like, absolutely fucking not. I finally have found something that I am proud of. I am proud of me. 36 years old, and this is the first time I have ever said that I am proud of me. Not somebody else telling me that they're proud of me. You know, I feel it. Because, like, had you asked me last year or the year before, I couldn't tell you. If somebody told me they were proud of me, if the guys, if Rebel, if anybody, fuck, if you told me you were proud of me, I probably laughed at you or smirked or made a fucking smart ass comment because it wasn't something that I felt about myself.
Yes.
And this was the first time, this year has been the first time that I genuinely was happy, was proud, and it was because I did it for myself. It wasn't something that somebody else gave me or did for me, or like we lose so much of ourselves giving to our parents, our siblings, our kids, our spouses, our partners. So finding those things that are just for you, it gives you so much a completely different perspective on yourself and your self value.
It does. I know that when I first started therapy 3 years ago, um, I had gotten divorced 2 years before, um, and I had moved from back home in St. Louis and moved to Kentucky. I just picked up and I was like, gonna do it, right? It was far enough for me to be away from home, but close enough if I needed to get home, I could get home. And I did that. I stayed there for 2 years. I worked on my credit. I did all of these things. I learned what being kind of independent looked like. Because I was with my ex-husband, even outside of marriage, we were together for almost 10 years. So that was the relationship. That was my focus. No matter how toxic and unhealthy it was, like that was what I was accustomed to. And then I moved here to Texas, bought a house, did all these things. And I found a therapist. And we were talking, and she said, have you ever just sat back and thought about all of the things that you've done to get to where you are? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, just sit back and really appreciate it. And I was like, I don't understand. Because, I mean, yeah, I got a house, but it's not brand new, you know, and yeah, the kids are taken care of, but I still struggle with A, B, C, D, and E. There's still work to be done. And over the last 3 years, she's really worked really hard with me to try and help me, the importance of me. I remember she asked, who is Miss Locs outside of a mother and an employee? And I cried for 20 minutes because I couldn't answer the fucking question, right? I don't know, right?
Yes.
The first thing I ever did for myself was stepping into this lifestyle. And it sounds crazy because, you know, people are like, oh, this is just about fucking, and this is just about kink, and this is so much more than that. And I was able to find my voice. For so long, I was like, oh, I don't even like people. And I'm still kind of antisocial. So don't let the smooth taste fool you, baby, because I'll clock out and cut my phone off in a minute. People be like, I ain't heard from you in like 72 hours. And I'll be like, damn, it has been 72 hours, huh? I thought I was talking to people. I was really just talking to people in my household, right? But this was the first thing that I did for me. I had all of these like amazing ideas. I came in and I didn't have the best coming in. And then I found people and I was like, oh, well, I don't know, because they do all of these things. And look, they're doing and creating and all of these things. And I had like all of these ideas. And the other day I sat down and I was looking at old correspondence. And I had talked about, it was 2 years ago when I had first started the coffee and cleavage thing on FET. And it started because I just took pictures. I was like, everybody's so sexual in this space. And what I'm not going to do is bust it open for FET, right? Like, that's just not really, no shade to anybody that does. I love that for you. It's just not for me, right? So how do I find my space? And I started doing pictures, and it was titled Coffee and Cleavage, right? So it gave me my little bit of vanilla kink. That's what I call what I do, right? I'd be like, at that point in time, I wasn't showing titties like that. So here go a little cleavage for you, bitch, right? And so I do that with my coffee, and I would always have something positive. Like I'd always just be a little vulnerable, be positive, and it caught on. I went from like 800 followers to like 3,000 followers. I was like, what's going on? And I don't understand, you know? And there's still a time where I am like, I don't understand why people gravitate towards me, but I feel like that's because I am living like my truth. Like I'm being authentically who I am. And now I'm actually doing the podcast that I wanted to do. I was like, I want to do thinking about doing a podcast about my experience being so new, and I'm going to call it Coffee and Cleavage. That's why I was so sad when I had to change the name. Like, I real life cried. I was like, no, it's my baby. But looking back 2 years ago, like, this was just me talking about curating safe spaces. Like I got the opportunity because I jumped in your inbox and I was like, oh, you want somebody to help you, Courtney? I don't know how to do shit, but I can help, and it just went from there and I was able to grow and learn and do things that I'm extremely proud of. Providing safe spaces is something that I'm proud of. I want people to be out here doing all kind of nasty, gross, debaucherous shit, right? I want people to be out here frolicking and free, but I want it to be done safely. I don't want anybody harmed in the process. And there's no better way for you to really frolic the way you want to frolic than knowing that you are safe while doing it. Because now I know you consented to me beating your ass with this damn flogger caught on fire. That's my new obsession, just to let you know. I just want to beat people asses with fire. It's my new this week obsession. Just when it happens, I'm taking all of the pictures. You're gonna be like, "What are you doing?" I'm gonna be like, "Beat! I caught him on fire." It was great. And so I don't think that like I needed that, and a lot of people don't view this space for that. But it's very empowering for me and for a lot of other people, and we're able to kind of like lean into what is important for us, even though it's something that may not look to be important to other people because it's just kink shit. It's a big thing for me being able to go to these conferences and what I gotta do. People want to hear what I say. Okay, I can go talk about moo-moos and shit, with the moo-moos and but 3 years ago I would have never pictured myself where I am. And when I'm sitting here talking about it, I'm extremely proud of it. So finding what that looks like for you is super important for like your growth and your frolicking and all of the things.
So, for our listeners who aren't watching, I've got this big old shit eating grin on my face because if y'all would have known Miss Locs 2 years ago and seen just how much she's grown, like you would understand. So I met Miss Locs it's been about 2 years.
It has.
So what was it? The barbecue, yeah?
It was. I came in. I was
Yes. Yeah.
overdressed. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
cosplaying down this bitch. I got
It
all of
was
my makeup and I got the clothes on and everybody in kilts and tennis shoes and shit. I was like,
like, yeah. So for me, meeting her officially, it was the very last day. Because if you've seen me at my own events, I'm running around like a chicken without its head. But Sir Ray Soju connected us and was like, "Oh, hey, Miss Lox is local. I was telling her about your TNG munch. Here you go," and like walked away. So we had a conversation. That conversation led to her jumping in my inbox when I was looking for somebody to help me co-admin the TNG. It led to a beautiful friendship. We've been to all kinds of conferences together. We traveled 17 and a half hours away from away from Texas together, unsupervised with no adults.
unsupervised. I even super glued my fingers together. But who gonna check me because I'm an adult?
But I handed over the CTX, TNG, and beyond to Miss Locks this past January. She says I bamboozled her, but
She did.
no, no, no. I told you for months that we were gonna do it. We were driving back from Florida Power Exchange, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be my last month. I'm turning it over to you. And she was like, excuse me, what? But she has done an amazing job of creating a space here in Central Texas, particularly for BIPOC people. And she has found herself her own co-admin. But in this past week and a half, her and her co-admin had been talking and figuring out what more they needed to do to get more out there. And she sends me a message and she was like, oh, hey, I need to give you access to the page. And I was like, no, the fuck you don't. This is yours. I don't need it. This is your baby now.
I don't know how I feel about it. I felt like she was just like, no, bitch, go ahead. You out here, be great. Unsupervised? I gotta be an adult? Because I'm an adult, but I don't really be needing, like, I don't want an adult. And I don't want people to tell me what to do. But sometimes I need checks and balances. Like, hey, bitch, you
Every
doing
once in a
this?
while, she'll still message me and she'd be like, hey, what do you think about this? Me and my co admin have been talking about this, and is this cool? And I'm like, yes, bitch, it's yours. Whatever you guys want to do.
No, like, on the charge. This is a lot. Like, out here in these streets. But you know what? Now that we're talking about what we have curated here in Central Texas, what we're trying to do. Um, I want to speak on something.
Okay.
So I am a creator of safe spaces. My previous experiences coming into this lifestyle wasn't always the best. And I wanted to make sure that as people want, because everybody doesn't want what I want, right? Everybody doesn't want to learn. They want to get out and have a good time. And I want them to do whatever they want to do. However, for those that do want to be safe, those that do want to learn, those that may be interested in a 24/7 situation, because even though I don't have a dynamic, this is my life. 24/7, all day, every day. It doesn't cut off. It doesn't change. Before you reach out to me wanting to collab, before you say that you want us to do something together, there are several things that you want to think about. First of all, a collab should be mutually beneficial. Okay? So, what are you bringing to the situation when you're talking about collabing? Because that is the purpose of collaboration, right? Not what I can do for you, because I'm uninterested. Okay? I know there's plenty of shit that I can do for you. My following is vast. I have made a name for myself out here. I'm going to continue to do it because I want to continue to draw people in and for them to know that there is a space for BIPOC, dominant leaning women, and all of these things here. So I have a brand. And I take that shit very seriously. So if you are unsafe, we can't do nothing together. If we have had bad interactions and you haven't even had the know-it-all to come in and speak about that bad interaction and tell me how you've grown as a person, how you've changed, how your viewpoints have changed. And you just come in and you're like, I want to collaborate with you about what?
Yeah.
What are we collaborating about? And make sure the collaboration makes sense. Anybody that follows me, talks to me, listens to the podcast, been in my presence, know I'm demisexual. Baby, I don't do play parties. We do dungeon parties that are sex positive, but they are not sex focused. There is a difference. And so what I refuse to do is allow people to utilize me as a come up or a step up, especially if your ass been in this for years. What you need me for? I should be reaching out to you, looking for collaborations and things to do together and all of that. You know if you're unsafe. You know if how you move is inappropriate. If it does not align with the brand that I have, because all you have to do is look. It's everywhere. I'm very open. And what you get online, what you get on these podcasts, is me. And I know a lot of people pretend to be one way and be some. This is me, authentically, all of me. Attitude, knocking shit over, being Karen, feeding into the community, doing all these things. This is legitimately me. So before you would approach me on that level, you should probably step back and look within yourself. Okay? Because I'm not here for the shits and giggles, and I'm not here for you to be like, oh, she has the attention of Central Texas BIPOC community. Let me use her. Use who? Baby, because I swear to God, my name ain't Charmin. Okay? Not my name.
Oh my god.
I need you to be fucking for real.
On
So,
that note, let me take a drink.
out here trying to wipe your ass with me. Absolutely not. But like I joke about it, but I'm dead ass. Because anybody that I feed into this community, my TNG baby, that's my baby. These people that come here and trust me, I
Yes.
don't wear that lightly. So I'll be damned if I align with somebody knowingly, knowing that they're unsafe. Why would you, knowing that you don't align with me, ask me to use my platform to propel your platform along when the people that are now you're seeming even more predatory. Now you're making it seem like you want newbies that don't know any better and that's still out here and trying to find their way to bring into a situation where they don't know no better, baby. And not on my watch. Not on mine. Everybody's not like me. Everybody's not able to, even when I didn't know what I was doing, I knew what I wasn't going to do. And it wasn't that. So to come back in and pretend like everything's okay, everything's sweet, we ain't talked about, we ain't hashed out nothing, just, oh, on some sis shit. Eh. This part was really loud and it was so funny. Anywho, absolutely
That
not.
reminded me of a comment that was made during all this bullshit that I was dealing with. So, another incident I was dealing with, something that happened at Pride back in June, and it's just been ongoing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had to cut ties with somebody. The organization had to cut ties. And as the leader, I had to facilitate those conversations and handle that. The lady told me that I don't understand because I'm privileged, because my name is as big as it is. I've never had to deal with this before. You clutch your pearls. And I was like, excuse me? You don't think that I've gotten to where I am without people trying to like tear me down, or that I've
We just
had
we
issues
just
in the
talked
past?
about that not too long
Right,
ago.
right. And she was like, well, I never see it. I don't see it on social media. I don't see it like being talked about or spread. I was like, because my actions, my character speaks louder than the lies that are trying to be spread about me.
Correct.
I don't put myself in situations that are drama filled. I don't put myself in altercations. I'm not out here causing all of these issues. That's why you don't see those things.
Because I
And if
don't
I do
do
fuck up, I will be the first person to say, hey, I fucked up. It's like
all of
I
that.
live my life very open and transparently. I will be the first one to tell you that I don't have my shit together. I hold myself accountable. I talk about my BPD. I talk about BPD rage. I talk about, fuck, 17, 18 years in polyamory and I still have issues. How many podcasts have we talked about where I've talked about my struggles with Rebel, and I've talked about how, fuck, last podcast that we tried to record, you know, I talked about how I feel like I'm not being the best partner to Sir, and that I'm failing on those points, and my communication is not the best because he's not home, and all of these things. But how fucking dare you say that I live in privilege? Because what? I work
Especially sitting
hard.
in your privilege. But the thing is, and what I've realized is I don't think that people are accustomed to transparency. I'm trying to get better with my transparency. So we'll be talking about polyamory and those struggles here soon. Um, but I know for me, I try to be as transparent as I can, but it's not an easy thing. Like, it takes a lot of courage for you to be like, hey, I'm not okay. But what I can say is that I have been really privileged to be around people that walk in transparency because it helps me feel not so alone as I am going through all of these different changes, all of these different experiences. I know for me, since we're on polyamory, this has been a struggle for me. This has not been anybody that sits out there and be like, oh, yeah, polyamory is fun. Bitch, you lying or you're not doing it right. Either way it goes, I'm not okay with none of that. Because what are you talking about, right? Especially when you have trauma. You have, I've been monogamous up until this point. This is very difficult for me. And also dealing with your own, like, it's not just, oh, I don't trust other bitches, or, oh, I don't trust these guys, or whatever the case may be. It is very much a internalized trauma response that feeds on other aspects of things. When you are feeling less than in your day to day, guess what you're going to feel less than in your relationship? You're going to feel less than. I realized this weekend, going through all of the many emotions that I felt this weekend, I realized that it feeds on everything. It's something as simple as, yep, you burnt that toast. Out here just burning toast, right? Something simple, right? Burning toast. You just, is it scrapable? It's not scrapable. Feed it to Nugget. Make some more toast. That would be like the logical, your brain connects correctly response. This is not how it works for me. It's like, oh, you burnt the toast, bitch, because you always fucking up shit. Like, you fuck up with this, and that's why this relationship ain't working right. And then he go blah blah, blah, and then he gonna leave you, and that's what you boo 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 boo, and it's a whole thing. And like trying to like work through all of those emotions, because I get it, and I really do speak on a lot of this because as a dominant woman, you don't feel like you have the space to talk about insecurities because insecure. You're dominant. You're not supposed to be insecure. I am, and I need reassurance, and I need forehead kisses, and I need wine, and I need booty rubs, and I need loving and cuddles. There are times where that is what I need in order to recenter myself, and I don't feel like that's something that is talked about enough. We don't allow ourselves enough grace, and the community doesn't allow us enough grace. I'm not perfect in this shit. And I'm realizing that a lot of my insecurities does not stem from my partners, doesn't stem from my partner's partners. It stems from me and how my trauma is set up, how my trauma spiral works, because it's a spiral. And for me, some people are like, oh, I spiral for a few minutes and then it's cool. No, I
It's
spiral, and then
days.
I dream about the spiral, and then I wake up in this spiral, and now I'm having this whole attack because I'm spiraling, and now everybody is against me because why don't you love me? And they like, I just rolled over. I ain't even brushed my teeth yet. And I'm like, I see you texting somebody else. What are you doing? Like, my dream said, and it
Yes.
sounds extremely crazy, and I don't vocalize it, right? So a lot of my struggles are internal. I'm not the best at talking about emotions. I'm not the best. I have an emotion wheel, and sounds really kiddie, but my partner will be like, well, what are your feelings? And I'll be like, well, I don't know. I just have big feelings. And he'll say, well, where's your emotion wheel? I'll go get my emotion wheel. And I'll be like, okay, I'm sad, but I'm sad because this and then this and this. And it sounds extremely childish. It sounds extremely remedial. But it's what I need in order to figure out what it is that I'm feeling, because for so long my feelings never mattered. Right? Whether
Well,
it
let's
was
talk about
family,
how you can't figure out your feelings because your own brain gaslights you.
boom. Hey, cause I'm horrible out here in these streets. I'm horrible. You get what I'm saying? I had a whole breakdown, transparent moment. I had a breakdown, and I was just like, I'm just doing horrible at everything. Now we just talked about all of the amazing things that I'm doing, right? But at that particular point in time, none of that mattered.
Yep.
Now you have to depend on those closest to you to feed into you and pour into you, because you don't see what they see. You don't feel how they say that you should feel. And all these feelings, they're big and they're strong and they're overpowering and they make you feel a certain way. And then it's like, I'm feeling it everything. If I'm feeling it everything, what the hell am I doing all this for? And it makes you want to quit everything.
Everything. And it's not just one thing. I was at that point this past week. I was like struggling with like regulating my emotions with one situation, and I was like, I want to quit everything.
Everything.
Every single thing. I'm quitting this group, I'm quitting this group, I'm quitting this group, I'm not teaching anymore. And everything was so unrelated.
But it didn't matter
Besides,
because
like,
all of
cut
it
off
brings
this
stress.
friendship, I'm gonna break up with this person, I'm gonna be a
Hey,
fucking hermit.
hey, I'm telling you, I'm gonna get a cat and a fucking ostrich, name it Belinda, with some toe socks. I'm gonna go live in a confined far, 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 far away, right? And I am going to eat bacon sandwiches and I'm just gonna live my fucking life. It sounds very specific because it fucking is, right?
Because we talk about these things. Like, we literally, like, play these whole... I don't mean, I don't know about you, but I've literally played out whole scenarios in my head about what would my life look like if I gave into these intrusive thoughts and I acted on impulse and literally cut everybody off and quit fucking everything. And it's like, oh,
It
fuck.
it's a lot. It's a lot, and I feel like more people, that have the eyes on us. I had a conversation about not wanting to share all of these experiences, right? And my partner asked why. And I said, because I don't want to go through these struggles with everybody fucking eyes on me. I don't want them to see this. Everybody's watching. Everybody's watching. No matter where I go, they're like, oh my gosh, Miss Rose. And I'm like, ooh, uncomfortable moment. I don't know what to say to Haley. I swear to God, I put my socks and shoes on in the same order as you do. I am the exact same person as you are. I just do things just a tad bit differently. But I mean, said, please don't. There's no pedestal that I need to go on. It makes me uncomfortable, and I'm scared of heights. Please don't put me up there. Please don't. Um, but it takes a lot to be that vulnerable. And Ty's always really big on being like, oh, Joy is so transparent. Hey, that is, I look up to her all the time, even though she's super little. Like in between these these aspects of things, I definitely look, because she is super transparent. Period. Like that's where it ends. Because if you expect me to compare myself to that, I ain't made it to that level. Hey, you lucky I'm not knocking shit over and ending everything and going and living a life as a nun. Um,
Well, see, there's a reason why I am the way I am, though. And one, it's It's for two reasons. One is very selfish, and I'll save that one for last. But I had a conversation at Self um, with Miss Self 2024. After she won her title, she had pulled me aside and asked me if I had any advice for her going into her title run year. And I was telling her to get vulnerable with people. Because the glitz, the glam, the sex, the fun, the debauchery, all of these things sound really good, right? And it draws people in. But what keeps people? Because when shit gets hard and life starts lifing, and maybe their experiences aren't what they had envisioned, because sometimes we make up these fantastical situations in our head, and when reality doesn't match that, it scares people away sometimes, or they have a bad experience and they want to run. What keeps people? Knowing that other people are experiencing the same thing and they can look to other people for ways to go through those emotions, go through those situations. People need to see themselves reflected back at them so that they know that
Mm-hmm.
they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so alone for so long, my entire life, in and out of kink. Being the black sheep of the family is fucking hard when you
Mm-hmm.
don't see other people's struggles and you feel so alone, you know. So that's one of the reasons why I'm super open about it. I don't want other people to ever feel the way I felt. If I can help one person and be like, "Oh shit, I'm experiencing that same thing. If she can make it through, I can make it through." Or I can inbox her and say, "Hey, do you have any advice?"
Tips. I
And
know
the other
for me,
reason
that's helped
is,
me. That's helped me. Like, I have you to come to talk about all of these big emotions. I even will, I'll text her at 2 o'clock in the morning. I know she's asleep. I just need to get need to get all of this out. You don't even have to respond. I just need to. I know I'm tripping. You don't have to tell me I'm tripping. I know I'm tripping. And I know you sleep. I know you sleep. But yeah, no, it makes a difference. It makes you feel not so
right.
alone. Because I know for me, in a lot of this, I feel alone. I feel alone in a lot of my struggles. I feel alone in a lot of my feelings. I feel alone in this walk because everybody talks about the end product.
Yes.
Nobody talks about all the trials, tribulations, struggles, tears, anxiety
Yes.
attacks, sleepless nights, not eating, bottle of wine drinking,
Yes.
boo hoo crying, snotting, eye boogers in the morning, face swole, experiences that you go through before you can get to a place. There is a process and procedure for everything, but I feel like a lot of times you get to see the end product.
Mhm.
No one shares the struggles because it's not glitz. It's not glam. It's not pretty. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Yes.
healing. It's a lot of unpacking. It's a lot of self reflection. And hey, let me tell you, y'all may think I look bad as hell. Yeah, I mean, oh, she fired. And I look in the mirror and I'll be like, hey, bitch. Why are y'all looking at me? Because I'm sure, you know what I mean? So, sharing all of that, being raw, being an individual, being a person, not being seen as unobtainable, but relatable makes such a big difference. And I don't mean fake relatable. That's where that transparency comes in at. That's where that vulnerability comes in at. That's where that rawness comes in at. And a lot of people don't have that. And I feel like that's what drew me to you. I knew that you were transparent in your shit, and you're like, hey, I'm not saying that I'm perfect,
Fuck
but this is just who
no.
I am. Yeah.
You know how many women I've had come up to me over the years and tell me that I'm living their fantasy, having two men, two dominant men, like this is my dream, this is what I want, this is my fantasy. I read reverse harem books and blah blah blah, and And it's like, oh, no, no, baby. Let me tell you, the sleepless nights, the crying, the. And it's not even like about them, really. It's about me, you know, my own internal struggle. Because every day I wake up with that feeling of I don't deserve this life at all. This life that I have created for myself.
Imposter syndrome.
16, 17-year-old me never thought it was possible ever. Finding one person to love me, let alone three people. You know, realistically, the way I was, I should have been in jail or dead by now. So, like, when people tell me, like, oh, you're living the dream life, fuck, bitch, me too. Every day I wake up and I pinch myself, is this fucking real? And then, like, we go through the motions of the day. I'm like, oh, yep, it's real because here I am crying because.
People don't think about that. The feeling of less than, the not enough, this fear of replacement, the fear of, oh, yep, they gonna wake up one day and be like,
Oh, I met
hey,
this
this
person
bitch is
who
a
doesn't have
fucking
as much
lot.
baggage, doesn't have as
Oh,
much trauma. I don't have to constantly reassure her. Like, I don't have to deal with all of this. That is my biggest fear.
uh-huh.
Sir and I, 18 years. Beast and I, 13 years. Rebel and I are going on 2 years. You would think those feelings fade away. They don't. And, like, the older I get, and like especially when you think about mental health and physical health, it's like, oh, they're gonna find somebody one day who they don't have to do all of this
All of
shit with.
this.
Fuck, Rebel and I have been going through some shit these last 2 weeks that I honestly created in my own fucked up mind. Okay. Your poly struggles triggered me in my own poly struggles. And, we were talking about one of the conversations that you and I were having, and Rubble had made the comment about, like, she's really glad that her and I have the relationship that we have this really great communication, and that she knows that I would support her in whatever it is that she would want to do in her journey, as she's still relatively new in her journey. And if she knows that if one day she wanted to have a submissive of her own, that yes, I would have feelings, but I would always support her. And my head went, bitch, you a fucking liar. You told me you were monogamous, so this whole time you're lying to me. So this is really what you want? You want somebody else? Like, we're not even 2 years in, and you're already thinking about having a submissive of your own? Okay, I couldn't be your submissive, so you're gonna find a submissive of your own, and she's gonna do all of the things that I can't do for you, so why the fuck will you still need me? And here we are. And then, like, 3 days of having this very uncomfortable conversation. And she was like, that's not even, I don't even want a submissive. I'm not even, like, entertaining that idea. It was just an example because that was the
The
situation
situation at
we were
hand.
talking about. I was just drawing a parallel. This isn't what I wanted. But my brain had created this whole
Whole
scenario in my
scenario.
head. And, like, I'm going through my own internal struggle of now she's going to replace me because I have all of these faults, with also, like, okay, now I have to work through my feelings. I have to do this. This isn't logical. You're going to have to do this and you're going to have to do that because you don't be a fucking hypocrite, you know? So I
Hey,
have like these two voices in my head, like battling each other.
battling it out, and then at the end of the day you feel horrible
Yeah.
because here I am. And I feel that on a cellular level because I'm like, oh no, I want you to be able to do all of the things and I cannot be
Yep.
submissive for you and I can't do this and I can't do that. And you gonna find somebody and they're gonna be like this amazing submissive and you're gonna get all of these needs met.
Yes.
And then what do you need me for? And then it also plays because for you, you've had your partners for a really long time, but for me, a lot of things are fresh. And I am a fixer. I'm very dominant in how I do things. I am a person that I'm going to sit down, oh, this is what you want. Okay, so this is how we're going to figure it out. This is what we're going to do. This is what do. And that's what makes me a good dominant, right? But it also is what has caused so many issues within my relationships on the vanilla side. Because, hey, people will use you up, and then when you no longer serve a purpose and they find who they're looking for, someone that better fits, and it doesn't matter how many times my partner tells me no, the relationships look different, it's not the same, the love is different, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. It doesn't matter because internally I don't feel like I'm enough, even though polyamory, you're not supposed to be enough. It's not about replacement of people. It's not about coming in and being like, oh, well, bitch, all right, used you up. Now let's get somebody to replace it. But it doesn't matter when it comes to like these intrusive thoughts and these feelings of inadequacy and the feelings of not being enough. And it is, even though I know that there's still parts of me that needs to be met, and I would love to find that space for me. I know that I'm not going anywhere. I know that these are just spaces that I need extra in or whatever, but I know that I'm locked in. It doesn't matter how much my partner will tell me that he's locked in. It doesn't matter because everybody fucking leaves. And, I have started getting better, and then there was the ending of my friendship, my 20-year friendship, and it spiraled everything. Hey, because if I can't 20 years, 20 years, and at the end of the day, the way the shit went down and the way the conversation was had and the aggression and the meanness and the taking of trauma from years and years of trauma and then taking it and throwing it in my fucking face and telling me I'm this horrible person and all. Hey, if somebody that you have rocked with since high school and their partner and spouse who you have known and called Sib since 4 years before that is able to do it, how do you then turn around and be like, oh no, it's not gonna happen. We locked in, it's cool. Everybody's always locked in until they're not. And for me, I know when I say I'm locked in, I'm locked in. You have to give me a substantial reason to no longer be locked in with you, right? No longer to fuck with you, no longer to want the friendship, relationship, whatever the case may be. I don't necessarily trust other people. I can't wholeheartedly. It sounds amazing on paper, but when it is something that you're going through after all of the things that you've been through, it does not seem obtainable. It doesn't seem like that's the way it is. It very much feels like you have that fear of abandonment. And then, you have your partner and they're like, we just don't have to do this. It's cool. Then you're like, oh, now I'm a horrible ass person because now you're not going to do this. You're going to stop all of this and blah, blah. And it's going to be my fucking fault because I'm fucking selfish. Because I couldn't get with the program. You know?
Do you feel like that affects our relationship?
What do you mean?
Because while you were dealing with that situation, I was dealing with something similar with my 10-year friendship. And then even before that, with somebody who was vetting our house and our lives, all of us, with both situations, our lives were so intertangled. Do you feel like these breaks in friendship that were so important and so long, do you feel like it affects how you and I move with each other?
I think that it does. There's always that hesitation, and it's not that. If we're being completely honest in regards to everything, if we look at our engagement, how quickly we engage with those other people, how quickly we allowed space, how quickly we poured into it, it's not the same. There is a certain hint of hesitation. And even though, like for me, in all of the relationships, yours, any friendship outside of ours, my dynamic, I try to allow it to flow the way that it flows, right? And I try to still pour into it. It's never going to be as pure as it was before the damage took place. And it doesn't matter how much we unpack. It doesn't matter how much we love and care for each other. It doesn't matter how much we're locked in. Like for me, it is a cognitive journey every time to remind myself this is not the same person. And a lot of people look at it relationship wise romantic, but it's with everything because we all have that trauma. And my trauma is not just romantic. I have abandonment issues from family. Hey, if your mama could not be shit, how you gonna trust anybody? That's the foundation. You know what I mean? That's the foundation. Now, does it make me a better mother? Yes. Yes, it does. I'm always looking at all of that. However, if I couldn't trust my mother, if I couldn't trust my father, if I couldn't trust my stepfather, those are the
Yep.
closest people to me. How the fuck am I supposed to believe that somebody is coming in and is going to be locked in? They're not preying on my downfall, right? So, boom, you have that underlining, right, with your immediate family. Then you meet friends, and you're like, ooh, chosen family. Chosen, I chose y'all. Y'all have been fucking. What the hell is going on? What do you mean you're calling somebody and being like, oh, why don't you? And I've been more into this than she has. Why would you ask her and not ask me? And I would. And then when you confront them, it's like, oh, I would never do this. You get what I'm saying? Like that's how it sounds in my head. Um, it's a struggle. Like and with every and it actually makes me sad because sometimes I miss the old me. I miss the 22-year-old, really trusting, really loving, really caring because those that are closest to me, they get that part of me. But there's so many people that don't get to experience that part of me because I am so guarded. I have issues connecting with people on an emotional and romantic aspect of things, even being poly, it is a problem for me. Why? Because I have those past traumas, those past hurts. And as soon as there's a red flag, I'm like, hey, bitch, you gotta go. What did you here for? I'm not gonna do this. I see you. And I promise he just sneezed wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? She just said one off thing. Like, and we also don't realize how our engagements within these situations play on our engagements with future people. I didn't realize that my engagement with the person that wanted to be co-topped by both me and my partner and how she played the situation, how she didn't show interest to me but would run to him and be like, oh, she's just not interested, I don't understand why she doesn't like me, blah, 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 blah. And that playing on that and then when they were finally called out, it was like, oh, it's because she's boring. Now I'm petrified because I'm not as exciting as everybody else. I'm not gonna just start off talking about how nice your titties are and ooh, let me see what that pussy look like. That is just not. Matter of fact, saying that made my whole soul hurt. Like I just want to let you know. It made me so fucking uncomfortable, right? Because for me, I have to connect. Like, do I like you as a person before I'm able to like indulge with you on an intimate level? And even when that is like it's more than just sex for me, right? But it makes it very difficult for me to engage with people. And I've realized that here recently, like trying to be more intentional when I'm looking at people for the possibility of the vetting and submission and things of that nature. It plays a big part. I'm just like, hey, I just want to let you know if you're looking for somebody that's automatically off the rip talking about sex. I'm not her, and I'm probably going to bore you. And I said it a few times to a few different people, and I realized that, oh, god damn, this damn person fucking more trauma. Like, really? Because now it's like, oh, I'm scared that me being my authentic self is going to bore people within this lifestyle because I do take it more on a serious basis. It's more than just kink. It's more than just call me and I can tell you to be a good girl or, oh, you're a dirty little slut and everything's going to be great. Like, that does nothing for me. Does something for you because that's all you're looking for, but it does nothing for me,
I
and
don't
that
think I've ever
becomes
heard you use that phrase before.
exactly not part of who I am. What do you mean? You want to be a dirty fool? You want me to say it out loud? I don't know how. Let's talk about positive affirmations. And so they're okay with that. But like, it makes me boring to a lot of people within these spaces because it all stems with a very high overtone. People like to say undertone. It's an overtone of sexual energy. And my thing is sexual energy don't start with me until I like you. And it took me a while to figure out when sexual energy starts for me. And I had to sit in that for a while. And I was like, oh, it's because people show interest in me as a person, not just me as Miss Locs or me as somebody that can do A, B, C, D, and E or interest them in this life. Like, they're interested in me. They're interested in coming to me and learning about me as a person and me as a mom and me as a worker and all these different aspects of me. And they're listening. They're not just trying to play a role. Like, they're really sitting and they're really listening and they're really coming back and, oh, you had a presentation last week. How did it go? Hey, I told you about that 2 weeks ago. You remember? Hey, you didn't tell me that you put out your podcast. Hey, I've never really talked to this gentleman on FET at all. And I was like, yeah, how's today going for y'all? Blah, blah, blah. He was like, oh, today was going great. Until I realized that you put out the podcast and didn't tell me that you had put it out. I still can't tell you this gentleman's name, but I can tell you that he caught my attention. And it sounds really crazy, but it's the simple shit. People are always telling me what they want to do to me, what they want me to do to them. All that. None of that makes you stand out.
Yeah.
Treating me like an actual human being matters, but we don't get that a lot in this space.
Yep.
You know? So, I forgot where I was going with that because wine. But
Oh, because I was asking if you think it affected our friendships.
it does. It does.
I think so
And
too, and I didn't really think about it because, one of those people who we no longer talk to, and it's been over a year, like stuff has just kind of resurfaced. And like talking about it tonight, it made me realize that like I've kind of cut back on my interactions with everybody. We're in a couple of different group chats, and like I'm not really talkative anymore. I'm not really answering people's phone calls anymore, and I'm not really doing things. I probably need to reach out tomorrow and apologize to some people because it's not anything that they're doing. And I don't think that I was like consciously avoiding anybody. It's just like these people got to see, like, not that you guys don't see the real me or that like I don't share the real me. It's you still have that bit of like you see what I want you to see. There's been a couple of times where you and I haven't recorded when we're supposed to record because, we're going through some shit.
Mhm.
Those things are still very private. We might talk about it afterwards, but in those height of those moments, I don't want people to see me like that. I don't want you to see me in a meltdown. I don't want you to see me in a BPD rage. I'll talk about it afterwards, but in those moments, I don't want you to see me that way. But these people have. They've seen me at my lowest and my most vulnerable and my most toxic because BPD is super fucking toxic and have used those things against me.
And I feel
And like
that.
you and I talk during those times, like, we'll either call each other or we'll text each other, like when we're feeling those ways, and like you'll either ask me to help you like talk through these things or I'll ask you to like am I am I going crazy? Am I handling this situation wrong? Am I reading too much into this? Help me make sense of this because my brain is going so far left. But even with that, there's still a level of like separation because it's over the phone.
Yeah. It's not in
We're not
person.
like in person seeing the emotions. These people were.
Mhm.
And aside from my partners, these were literally the only two people I've ever allowed that close to me to be that involved in my life. You know, we have a special needs daughter that we talk about some of the things with, openly, but a lot of it is still very private when it comes to her.
Mhm.
Being a mom to a special needs child is one of the most difficult things that you can go through emotionally. And these people were like in the trenches with us. I mean, at the hospital, at doctor's appointments, here when they were sick, when I was having to like go through medical procedures, sickness, all of these things. So, like, this fear of like letting somebody that close again.
I understand. I understand. And I don't take offense to it. Probably because I am the same. But I want to make sure, because I know that this is something that we hadn't talked about before. I want to make sure that you understand that there's no judgment there for me from that. Like, I don't feel less than. I don't feel like you don't love me. Because I feel like it's something, it's a privilege that's earned. And when, like, for me, I have been through what I've been through. And I know that I'm not, I've been asked to no longer talk about how I'm not easy to be around. But a lot of the times I know that I can be a lot for the wrong people. Maybe I should say that. I'm a lot for the wrong people. Everybody wants to be in my presence, not understanding what being in my presence look like. They don't
Right.
understand the trials and tribulations that I've been through. They don't understand the trauma or any of the things. Being with my partner and him seeing a lot of the things that I had been through at the height of it when he was still, we were in a dynamic, um, going through all of this, having somebody that you were married to and you loved and you poured into dragging you through the trenches. You know what I mean? And now having somebody that was with you going through the trenches and then to find out, hey, I technically had a problem with all of this shit and how you was doing, but I wasn't saying it. But now that we not cool no more, let me take all this shit and throw it in your face because fuck you. Right? It makes it very difficult for me to then open up to someone new that doesn't have that same time, invest it, right? And be like, oh no, I trust you completely. I'm on that, blah, 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 blah. And not at all. Why? So you can take that shit and then throw it in my face, and then the engagement with my child, and making it seem like, oh, if you feel alone, if you're I miss you and you can reach out to me, bitch, don't do that. And so it is very difficult to get from that space. So I don't want you to ever feel guilty about it, because I don't feel away. I feel like you give what you're able to give when you're able to give it, and I'm completely okay with that, because I want you to know that I give what I can give when I'm able to get it. This weekend was an amazing example of me not really engaging and needing to be into myself and figure self out so I could function and be a regular, productive member of society. And you being able to accept that is what I needed at that particular point in time. Like, I try to give that back. I don't have those unrealistic expectations, because I've been here and watching all of this shit happen, and I'm like, in real time, I'm like,
But I
okay,
think
I get
because
it.
we're both going through such similar situations, we have an understanding of each other. So, like, when you go quiet, I give you about 36 hours, and then I'm like, okay, I'm
That
just
is
checking
such
in. Okay?
a
Just
specific
give me a bat signal and let me know that you're okay. We don't have to talk. We don't have to, like, hash nothing out. Just let me know you're still breathing.
And
You're good?
sometimes I'm
Okay.
great at it, and sometimes you have to be like, bitch, I ain't heard from you in 48 hours. I'd be like, damn, it has been that long. How you doing? Like, it's a thing. So, I think for those that are going through the same thing that we have kind of gone through, as you guys go through your journey, as you deal with all of the things, understand that those that are for you will understand it. You're
But
not
also,
replaced.
grieving friends is real. Nobody
It
talks
really is.
about that. Sometimes losing a friendship, losing friends, realizing that a friendship isn't what you thought it was, comes with grief.
Super brief.
And nobody talks about those things at all. It's like, oh, it never happened.
But it did. It did, and it affects you. It without dealing with it, because the thing is for me, and what I'm proud of us of what I'm proud of us doing is doing the work as the work is needing to be done, because this is allowing us to hold these type of conversations, share this type of information with other people that may be going through it. But so many people don't, and we pretend like everything is the same. But the friendship and the depths in which we fit into those friendships, they're not the same. They don't look the same. They don't look the same because we're guarded, And even when we're like, oh no, I can love you to death, but if you did something shady tomorrow, I'd be like, makes sense. Makes sense, and it has nothing to
She
do with
just like
you,
everybody else.
just like everybody else, and I'll go ahead about my business. It would it hurt? Yeah, but it wouldn't hurt as much as those walls being down. And so it's why we have to work through those emotions to allow for those connections to be made. I connect with people on a very surface level, right? And I am a great person to come and talk to about your problems, and I'll help you figure it out. And I'm totally here for you. But I think very few people realize that the amount of transparency that they give me is not necessarily the same amount of transparency that I give them. And it's not coming from a place of deception or rudeness. It comes from a place of protection.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's something that I currently am working through with my therapist and the therapist that I lay with every night because he is my unpaid therapist.
Two separate
Sometimes
people. Two separate people.
two separate people, and then I have y'all that are my therapists. So it's work, but for me, I'm willing to put in the work because I do miss the not the naivety of the old me, but the purity and the ability to love platonically and non-platonically without reserve.
Yes.
And my goal is to try to get as close to that version of myself while still making sure that I am able to utilize my discernment that I have gained throughout this process because everything is a learning process. So I am getting better at that. I'm not the same person that I was 3 years ago. I'm not the same person that I was 2 years ago. Talking to somebody that I was interested in 3 years ago is going to look completely different than my engagement. So it's showing me that I'm growing and I'm changing and I'm learning and I'm evolving. But there's still that brick wall, and there's still things that I feel like my partner still is just learning about me because I'm just now getting to those safe spaces where I know that I can be like,
Because you're
I
an
can
onion.
totally an onion, and I feel like I give Fiona vibes. So not fucking ashamed. I mean, for an ogre, she was a bad bitch. So I'm with all of that. I need that whole. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have to go find me some shapewear because I bet you I'm built like a. You get what I'm saying? Like with the,
You need to go to sleep. You're getting silly now.
but I'm trying to think about what else we can because we've been talking for a while, and I feel like this has been a more intense session than most, but I feel like it's a valid conversation to be had because I was like, oh, what are we gonna talk about today? I've been thinking about it for 3 days. Hey, I don't know. I could talk about me grilling the other day and not burning the house down. Let's talk about that. Hey, that chicken was fire too, right? But outside of that, I don't have anything for y'all. So we were like, hey, we just gonna allow the conversation to flow. And I've been getting a lot of commentary from people that are like, "Oh, I love the engagement that you two have and your conversation points." But I was like, "Oh, that's just how we actually y'all get a very PG version of us because
Because
y'all
our
really want to
indigenous
be
seducer
oh."
be giving us the side eye.
Because bitch, what's wrong with them? Mind your business, okay? Don't judge me. This is a judge-free zone, okay? All right. Um, but yeah, I think that this was a needed conversation. Hopefully, people don't get bored with it because I feel like if we're not talking about non-serious stuff, not everybody really feeds into and like. But these are conversations that need to be had, and I wish more people would have the level of transparency that we are trying to have in everything that we are doing. What time is it? I feel like.
It's almost 10.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, I'm old.
Same.
Got gray hairs. Have you
I
seen
mean,
them?
I can't believe I'm admitting this on camera, but I have found a couple of gray hairs too.
I just feel like it's different when you lock because you're either all silver or diet. Um, And mine never comes in like inconspicuous places because I'm tall, so you can't even see it in the back unless you 6 foot or better, right? That should be right here. Why is you here? Why are you here?
I will
So
admit that I am very vain. However, it's funny that this episode has been about like transparency and vulnerability because here I am, no makeup, no lashes, and I'm missing a pinky nail for those of you who can't see.
first
And
of
it's
all,
very
let's talk
rare
about how you a bad bitch with none of it.
that
Okay.
anybody sees me like this at all because and I don't do it for other people, I do it for me. It's like my war paint. I put on the lashes, I put on the makeup, I have my nails done because it makes me feel good about me and then I can go do what I need to do because if I'm not like second guessing how I look, that's one less anxiety thing, one less self-deprecating, self-destructive thought in my head because Lord,
And
there's
that
nothing
reminds me,
past.
I need to take my once our houses are free of illnesses, I need to start back getting my nails done. I had started getting it together. I could text with the pads and my thumbs and all that. Baby, now I gotta start all over from the beginning. I was doing so good.
Wait till we get you to my level of length nails.
Yeah, no. So I don't know if I'm gonna ever get to that. I'll be in here like, babe, I need help fastening my shirt. I can't get my pants undone and I gotta pee. That's the
Why do
weird thing.
people wear jeans? That's why I'm always in skirts and dresses. Just lift that bitch up.
That's a valid point. I may look into that. Hey, it'd be a struggle. I'd be up here like, hey, and there's 5 buttons because you know them high waisted joints that suck in your stomach.
Hmm.
Because I don't know why people assume that, oh, you like the right shape fat bitch. Ooh, the right shape fat bitch. Baby, let me tell you, this fupa is always going to get. So let me go ahead and get these high waisted, hey, baby, because I'll wear a high waist and a tank, not a tank top, but like a halter top in a minute because it's sucking in. I'm like, hey, look at me. I look like I went and got my body done, and all I did was go pay for some $60 jeans. Hey, so I be telling people don't let the smooth tasteful. I know from right here up here, y'all be like, oh, she not that.
Hmm.
I'm a fat bitch. Hey, I need if you don't like fatness, don't come over here. Okay,
Same.
everything jiggles, and these rolls are Hawaiian. You know what I mean? Like, and not because I'm Hawaiian, but because I like Hawaiian rolls. Okay, I need for them to go ahead and connect the two. All right, because they be like, oh, she Hawaiian.
What are those memes? Like if you see me in real life, this is really my body shape. That's me. I might look good from like underneath the tits up, but there's a whole fupa down here.
It really is,
A
and I
whole
need for you to
fupa.
be willing to lift that hoe up and put it on your clothes. If you're not, I'm not the bitch for you. All right, so we are not going to keep you any further. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us in our two separate places. This is the first episode that we have not been together. It's been mad weird. I don't like it. Tell your kids to get unsick, okay? Um, make sure that you like, subscribe, share. We are also starting a Patreon situation. Why? Because there is a lot of uncut shit that y'all haven't seen. Ooh, there was one time that a spider came in, bro. It was a whole freak session. So those are the type of things that you guys will be able to see on Patreon. It allows us a lot more space, a lot more flexibility. I cuss a lot. Okay, I tone it down for YouTube, but that comes from us having an amazing ED. You think you gonna get rid of this?
No, you better not.
So make sure you guys subscribe to all of that. Leave comments. And once again, thanks so much for tuning in. And we will talk to you next week.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.